So the thing about this place is you see the most amazing technology everywhere you look. So this is the third day of IBC, and as usual we're going to give you our legendary end of day roundup, and we've really seen some pretty cool stuff here today. What have you seen, Baz?
Well, one camera we didn't talk about, well, it was kind of released a few weeks back.
Before the show, yeah.
Yes, but that's the Panasonic S1H. And I think it's a really interesting camera because it also has a 6K sensor, and it just feels like it's a really small bodied camera, right? So I think that this might also be a very good contender for a lot of people who are looking for something small but with a lot of quality. And the first images that we saw out of it, like the test footage and stuff like that, I've got actually a friend of mine who is a Panasonic Lumix ambassador, but so that he might be a bit biased. But still, yeah, really. But still, what I saw out of that camera and what you can do with it, it's definitely a step up. And we talked about it before, but I think it's good to mention it anyways. It's like 6K is so great. It's such
a sweet spot, isn't it?
It's such a sweet spot for having a bit more room, so you can do stabilizing and stuff like that if you want to just deliver a 4K image in the end. I really think that's an important note. Yeah.
And when you say it's so much better than what?
Than 4K.
Oh.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Cool. Right. So for me, the highlight of the day was interviewing Andy Serkis, who is...
Who's that?
Yeah, he's the ape guy, the hairy ape guy. No, really, he's a superb actor who has the incredibly difficult job of making artificially generated characters seem real. And he probably has done more than anyone else to further the art of motion capture, but I shouldn't call it motion capture because it's actually performance capture. So, and it's performance capture because it is a genuine acting performance in character. And you'll see this video very soon on our channel. But he's a lovely guy, unbelievably switched on about the technology. He was ahead of me at every stage in this. And it was just a lovely interview, yeah. I thought, yeah. So the next thing I saw is you could easily walk past it and not realize how great it is, but Adobe has an AI technology, and if you read RedShark, you know we hammer on about AI all the time because it really is the most important thing, AI and machine learning, going on around us at the moment. And Adobe has an AI engine they call Sensei, Japanese word, and it allows it to do all kinds of things like content-aware motion fill. So you can take a lamppost and some electricity wires out of a moving picture,
or you can create fake news.
Oh, you said no, surely not. But what they've done now is turn the abilities of that towards what seems like a mundane problem until you have to cope with it, which is that these days when you shoot a video like this or at any level, you have to remember that it's going to be shown on all kinds of devices. It's going to be shown like square on Instagram. It's going to be shown probably 4:3 or something in Facebook. Might even be shown in 9:16 on a phone. So what this technology does is not just crop to those aspect ratios and not just do face recognition, for example, so it can track people. It actually, I called it semantic tracking, and Adobe said, yes, that's a good phrase, we'll use that from now on.
Can I pay for that?
I hope so. What it means is that it actually figures out what is going on in the scene, in the sense that if there's somebody walking past, if there's someone looking at something, they monitor the direction of their gaze, they monitor what direction people are moving. They look at the context of the whole scene and they make the best possible decision for framing based on what it understands is actually going on in the scene. And there's even one image of a guy holding a child, so father and child, and because it was shot in widescreen and they had to make a version for 9:16, like tall and thin, they decided that they would actually crop out the child, but they did it perfectly as he moved around. So this thing works on so many levels, and it's just one of the most impressive demonstrations you've seen, but you wouldn't know it was there unless you go into a nested menu.
And this will save you tons of time in post-production, as you basically have to only check what Sensei is doing instead of going through the whole process of keyframing and cropping yourself. Obviously, you still want to have to make some decisions, but it'll just get a lot of work done for you in the process.
Saves you going through frame by frame, keyframing, all of that stuff. You probably do it in a 20th of the time. Because of that. Now, the other interesting, I've had a few conversations with people. When you walk around this show, you normally go straight for the cameras and the lights and the sexy stuff at the acquisition end. But actually, increasingly, people who make content have to start thinking about stuff in the IT domain, because you can't any longer just put a tape on a shelf and that's it. So a lot of these companies struggle to get their messages across because they all seem to be doing cloud-based stuff, collaborative stuff, smart storage, but they all have their personalities. And it struck me that someone like you Buzz, who runs a production company, your thoughts are now turning from which camera to use to what is your workflow going to be.
Yeah, and it's a fluid workflow because nowadays it's almost like every job requires a slightly different workflow. You always have to kind of adapt. And basically with all technological advancements, you kind of want to recalibrate what you thought was the most efficient workflow, and you want to add onto that. And it makes it, in a way, it makes it more complex, but in another way, it makes it more creative as well, because in the end, it's about basically getting time to do what you should do, and that's like the final creative product. So yeah, I think that's it's good, right? It shouldn't be only about the latest camera specs. It should be about a bit more than that.
Yeah, I also don't want to get the impression that like all cameras are the same. It may be that all cameras are great, but they all have their personality. And all have reasons to choose between them. But in a way, the back of the camera is moving further and further into the IT domain, isn't it? Yes, on which highly technical, theoretical note, it's probably a good time to finish. But so that's it. We're back again tomorrow.
Are we?
No.